When we think about non-communicable disease conditions, or almost every disease condition you can think of, the risk of disease is associated with poorer levels of muscle mass, strength, and function. Skeletal muscle, it's now considered to be the largest organ in the body. When you stand on the scales, the number you see, about 40% of that number is the weight from your skeletal muscle system. Um, and I guess traditionally we always thought that our muscles are attached to tendons, ligaments, bones, and they play a really important role in helping us move our locomotion. So um, electrical signals sent from the brain to muscles to make them contract, um, to, effectively to tense, and that gives us the propulsion to move ourselves around. We've come to understand in the last couple of decades that skeletal muscle is extremely metabolically active as well. It doesn't just play a key role in locomotion, but also our whole body metabolic health. It's a really important site for the regulation of a whole host of different metabolic processes. And when we move and we exercise, it's also now known that muscle can secrete certain factors as well into our circulation, and those factors can communicate and talk to other tissues and potentially introduce health benefits to different tissues across the body as well. So, given the fact that it's metabolically active, we now consider skeletal muscle to be an organ, and its importance in longevity, healthy life expectancy is now widely recognized, across healthcare practice as well.
So, what are the benefits of healthy, strong muscles, and what are the downsides if we don't look after them?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So, what we know is that high levels of muscle strength, mass, the size of the muscle, and also its function, how well the muscle enables us to conduct activities of everyday living, is associated with a whole host of health benefits. When we think about non-communicable disease conditions, or almost every disease condition you can think of, the risk of disease is associated with poorer levels of muscle mass, strength, and function. So actually taking care of those parameters as we advance through the life course, it plays a really important role in reducing our disease risk. Um, Not only that, but if we do find ourselves in that unfortunate position where we have a chronic health condition, the chances of better outcomes or improved prognosis seems to be associated with high levels of muscle mass, strength, and function. Now, when I talk about mass, strength, and function, I'm not really referring to levels you might find in an elite performer or a bodybuilder. We don't have to have a huge amount of muscle mass, but relatively speaking, for a given individual, trying to maintain that sort of healthy ratio between muscle and fat mass in the body is really what we're aiming for. So if we feel like we've got adequate levels of muscle mass and we feel strong and physically capable, that our activities of daily living aren't compromised, then you're probably doing well in terms of muscle mass and strength. You don't need to be an elite performer to get some form of health benefit. In terms of underuse, um, as we advance in age, whether we remain really physically active or not, our muscle mass, strength, and function do decline. So this is a disease condition called sarcopenia. It occurs at a really slow and insipid rate. So we lose muscle mass at a rate of about 0.5 to 1% per year after the age of 40. These are the figures that are typically touted. And that sounds really, really small. But if you add that up over a 30-year period, you can appreciate that it's a considerable amount of muscle that we might be losing. So there's an inherent aging process that none of us can fully avoid that means that our muscle mass deteriorates and wastes over time. So our muscle fibers get smaller. And that has a knock-on effect on our strength and function as well. Um, it's possible, as we age, we become less physically active. We're also have a heightened risk of age-related disease conditions and comorbidities as well. So these periods of ill health, and we know that these chronic disease conditions can accelerate the rate at which our muscles waste as we age. Not only that, but if we find ourselves ill or in hospital, so a period of time where we're off our feet, we're immobilized, we know that muscle can deteriorate really, really quickly when we unload it and an older person is in bed for a confined period. Although at the face of it, age-related sarcopenia looks like quite a slow and insipid process. We think that it's punctuated by these periods of ill health, disease, immobilization as well. And the issue there is that when we lose a lot of muscle mass, strength, and function during those periods of ill health, it's really difficult in older age to get back to where you were before as well without really, a targeted rehabilitation approach.